Hey, what's going on, good people? It's Gardner Douglas, your Oyster Ninja. I'm coming to you with something totally different, something I usually don't do, wouldn't do. I broke into it a little bit with the episode I did with Lady Oyster. Hope you check that episode out. I want to talk to you about something that we're not supposed to talk about. Can you guess what it is? Any guesses? Any takers? Anybody? Somebody? Scream. We're talking about politics. We're talking about the capital P. I put a post out to Instagram land. And if you're not following us on Instagram, go do that right now. Uh, Oyster Ninja PC and the mobile Oyster bar is that says shucking. But go follow us on there. But I put some questions out to the followers, and I'll read them at the end. I did have a few people to respond, but nobody wanted to come on camera. Um, I'll say one or two wanted to come on camera, but we just couldn't link up the schedule. So no biggie. But I did want to interview some oyster farmers, some oyster shuckers, some nonprofits about things that we should be thinking about when we go to the polls to vote um, for this upcoming presidential election. So since I didn't get any takers, I went to the next best thing. You guessed it, Chat GPT, AI, right? But no, I really did. So I'm going to give you this, what I asked it. I said, so I tried interviewing oyster shuckers and oyster farmers on what they thought was important about this upcoming presidential election, but I got little responses. What should they be worrying about with this upcoming election, and what should be important issues to them? Now I'm going to read you off what topics Chat GPT. They came up with seven. Well, actually, first I'm going to ask you this question: how do you envision the future of the industry in relation to these issues? Now, these issues that I'm about to give you are public health and safety, support for local economies, access to resources, trade policies, that's going to be a big one, labor rights, sustainable fishing, and environmental regulations. Okay, so here we go. Now, this is what ChatGPT said. It says, that sounds like an interesting angle. Imagine that. Here are some key issues that oyster shuckers and farmers might be concerned about in this upcoming presidential election. Now, they said with environmental regulations, climate change impacts coastal ecosystems, which can affect oyster populations. Candidates' positions on environmental protection and climate action could be critical. Now, after this prompt, now of course, like I said, it's six more other topics, but after this prompt, I started thinking, well, if this is what ChatGPT AI should, or if this is what ChatGPT AI says that we should be thinking about, so I asked, with these issues, what are the Biden Harris viewpoints? So here we go. So environmental regulations, it says the Biden administration has focused on tackling climate change through initiative like rejoining the Paris Agreement and promoting renewable energy. They emphasize the importance of protecting coastal ecosystems, which can positively impact the oyster industry. Now that got me thinking, of course, again, with these points, what were Trump's previous stances? So, environmental regulations, the Trump administration rolled back numerous environmental regulations, arguing that hindered economic growth. This included weakening protections for coastal ecosystems, which raised concerns about the long term health of marine environments. And again, This is just Chat GPT, and I can do more of a deep dive if you guys like before the elections, which we don't have that much longer now. Um, but if you want me to put out an episode and really go deep dive, it's not my forte, but I will do it if somebody is like, hey, yeah, I want to know a little bit more before I go to vote. Which, with all this time, you should have been researching, what's important to you. But hey, that's neither here nor there. Um, so the next one up is sustainable fishing practices. Now, it says regulations surrounding fishing and aquaculture practices are vital. They might be interested, talking about the oyster shuckers and oyster farmers, they might be interested in policies that support sustainable farming and fishing. Okay, so it says the Biden Harris administration, the administration supports sustainable fishing practices and has backed initiatives to restore marine ecosystems, aiming to ensure the long term viability of fisheries. Now, for Trump, it said the administration focused on promoting commercial fishing interests, often prioritizing economic benefits over sustainability. They supported policies that favored more aggressive fishing practices, which some criticize as detrimental to long term fish populations. All right, next up, we got labor rights. It says many workers in the oyster industry face labor challenges. Issues like minimum wage, workers' rights, and immigration policy are essential for those who depend on this labor. Biden Harris. Biden has expressed strong support for labor rights, advocating for higher minimum wages, unionization, and better working conditions, which can benefit workers in the oyster industry. Labor rights for Trump, his previous administration. Trump's administration was less focused on labor rights compared to Biden's, emphasizing deregulation and tax cuts for businesses. While he supported job creation, his policies did not significantly address labor condition in sectors like seafood. Okay, very interesting. 4. Trade policies. Tariffs and trade agreements can impact the pricing and availability of oysters, especially if they rely on exporting to other markets. Okay. Biden Harris. The administration has worked on strengthening trade relationships while ensuring fair trade practices. These focus on protecting American jobs, which can impact local seafood markets. Let's go to Trump. Trade policies. Trump implemented tariffs on various goods, which impacted trade dynamics. His administration often focused on renegotiating trade agreements like NAFTA, which could affect seafood markets through the long-term effects were mixed. I guess I need to zoom in because I can't see worth nothing. Zoom in a little bit. There we go. All right. All right, next is access to resources. This includes water rights, land use, and access to technology that can improve farming practices. Biden's policy often includes support for rural communities and small farmers, which can indirectly benefit oyster farmers through infrastructure and resource accessibility. The Trump administration supported deregulation of land and water use, which some argued could benefit farmers but raised concerns about environmental impacts and resource sustainability. Now, just to cut off for just a second, we got 2 more to go over. But if you haven't watched Joe Rogan's and Trump's interview, it was actually, I'm not a big Joe Rogan fan, but it was actually a good interview. If you can sit down and watch, a couple of hours, it's currently at how many views is it? It's got some crazy views. It's at 28 million, and it's only been like a day and a half. 28 million views. Can you imagine that? Some of his highest viewed videos have, you know, maybe 15, 20 million views, but they've been up for years. So a day and a half, 28 million views, just goes to show. I actually would like to see Kamala go on Joe Rogan, and Joe Rogan actually said, he would, not that he favors, the things that she stands for, but he would actually like to have a conversation with her. So I don't know if she would do it, but I would like to see that interview. Um, Maybe she'll go on Shannon Sharp's. I don't know. Not to make it a black and white thing, but just, just for, I guess, maybe if she goes on Joe Rogan, she might feel attacked because she knows that they don't see eye to eye. Um, all right, here we go. Support for local economies. Policies that promote local food systems and small businesses can directly benefit oyster farmers and shuckers. Okay. The Biden administration has promoted initiatives that support local food systems, including funding for small and medium sized farms, which can enhance the visibility of local oyster industries. While Trump advocated for American jobs and small businesses, his approach often favored larger industries and did not specifically target support for local food systems or small scale farmers. Next is public health and safety regulations. This is the last one. It says food safety standards are crucial for those in the seafood industry. Candidates' stance on these regulations could be significant. Let's see. The Biden administration has prioritized food safety and public health, working on strengthening regulations that ensure the safety of seafood products. It says the Trump administration emphasized deregulation, which some critics argue could compromise food safety standards. There was a focus on reducing government oversight rather than enhancing food safety regulations. In summary, Trump's policies tended to prioritize economic growth and deregulation, often at the expense of environmental protection and labor rights, which might have contrasting implications for the oyster industry compared to the Biden administration approach. All right, good people. So I'm not going to hold you. I'm not going to keep you long. That's all of the information I wanted to put out. I do feel like, if you have a platform, you should be informative. So again, if you want more information, I'll do some research and really get down to it. But again, I usually don't put information out here like this. I usually don't do episodes like this, especially with politics. But I hope you enjoyed it. It's something different. Again, if you have not subscribed to the podcast, please subscribe. I'm going to be putting out actually a way to actually subscribe. If not this episode, the next one, the ads will start becoming. Ads will be a part of the episodes. So if you want ad-free episodes, you will be able to subscribe and get the not unedited, but episodes with no ads in it. So I hope you support. Again, if you don't want to buy into the subscription, which is just only going to be a few dollars. But if you don't want to buy into the subscription, I appreciate you listening anyway. And, leave a review or tell a friend about the Oyster Ninja podcast. Until the next episode, peace, love, and shuck on.